Hello, everybody. And today I'm gonna be starting, or hopefully starting, a new thing where I dive in depth on Goat format cards and kind of analyze them and rank them. I don't really see that there's a lot of Goat format content on YouTube, and hopefully I can just provide more insight to a couple of cards and get more people interested in it. So I figured a good place to start would be a card that most of the community is pretty divided on, and that's gonna be Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer. So this is gonna be my first one, so it might be a little rough, but we'll see how it goes. So Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer is a dark spellcaster monster that each time this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent's life points, you can remove up to 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard from play. In addition, as long as the card remains face up on the field, your opponent cannot remove any cards in either graveyard from play. So first off, I'm gonna assume that people listening or watching this know what Goat format is, and if you don't, look it up on YouTube. There are plenty of people who explain it. Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer is pretty divided amongst the community because you have people who say there really isn't a point in running him because if you don't draw into him, he doesn't fulfill his purpose at all. And then you have people who kind of swear by him and run him at 2 and whatnot. I'm going to kind of divide him up piece by piece. And I think the easiest place to start off with would be his attack. Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer has 1800 attack. That's very sizable within a standard Goat format deck. Because Goat format nowadays doesn't allow Xeron Universe, that actually is your strongest normal summon monster besides Air Knight Parshath and Blackluster Soldier. So that's pretty sizable considering the fact Azure Priest can't get over him. And just being an 18 beater is very good on its own. Another upside of that is if you run into an opponent who's using Go Control as well, and they're not expecting you to drop a Kycoo, and they summon a monster in face-up attack position, you can summon Kycoo to Ghost Destroyer, peg them, and then banish from their graveyard Air Knight Parshath or Sinister Serpent or whatnot. Now, that does sound like a small advantage, but it actually has come up quite a few times. And the more you learn to play with Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer, the better you get with him and the better you get with timing, which, on its own is pretty good. Now I'm going to move on to his defense. 700 defense. Look, Goat format was a very interesting time in Yu-Gi-Oh! If a monster had a very good attack, it usually resulted in having rather poor defense. If a monster had really good defense, it usually resulted in having very poor attack. Some good examples of this are Big Shield Gardna, having abysmal attack. And then I guess the other good example would be Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer, 1800 attack, 700 defense. Now, while 700 defense is small, it's still enough. And when I mean enough, right, you don't have to worry about, your opponent killing this thing with something like Magical Merchant while it's in face down defense position, or Magician of Faith, or if your card gets Book of Moon, right? So what I mean is it's going to get destroyed by most things, but it's not going to be destroyed by all things that are run in, Goat format. So, Tsukiyomi can out it, but I still think Kycoo's defense is enough. The reason I'm making that comparison is compared to something like Big Shield Gardner, which is only good for 1 attack, and then it gets put into attack position, and then anything can run over it, which is quite frustrating. But 700 defense, I think, is suitable enough for the card. It's not poor enough within the format to say like it's garbage. It can survive the small things, which in my opinion counts. Next up, it's pretty important to talk about how he is a dark attribute. If you're running the standard Goat build, you're gonna have your 2 Magical Merchant, you're gonna have your 2 Magician of Faith, you're gonna have your 2 Air Knights, right? Kycoo's a dark, and he's a good one at that, so that's another plus why you should run this card. Now I'm going to go into the biggest discussion of why people run him. It's for the Chaos matchup. And you have a lot of people who think a couple of things about him. I mentioned it earlier in the video that people will draw into him too late in the game and it doesn't make a difference. Or, one article I read online is that Kycoo's just preventing the inevitable. Like, it's going to eventually get Book of Moon and then they're going to summon out their monsters, which I completely agree with. But they're all assuming that you're dropping Kycoo early. I think the best way is in another article, which I don't have the link to, but I'll try to in future videos. They say they would rather play around the fact knowing their opponent is going to summon a Chaos monster than summon a monster that's stopping them, which they'll eventually get off at any point in time. I just butchered what that meant. But pretty much what I'm saying is they would rather know when their opponent's going to drop their Chaos monsters than summoning Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer and then like waiting from the Book of Moon and then go into their monsters, which I completely understand. But I think that's viewing Kycoo the wrong way. I actually think it's best for your opponent to go into your Chaos monsters and then play around with them, snatch steal and whatnot. And then later in the game, when they might have one Chaos Sorcerer or one Black Luster, then you drop Kycoo down. Because at that point in the game, you're pretty low on resources, you're not really expecting much, and at that late in the game, your opponent's not going to expect you to drop a Kycoo. So, I think that's the right way to approach Kycoo in the matchup. So, I'm going to go ahead and, give Kycoo a ranking within GOAT format. So, I think in the right hands, Kycoo can be a really strong card. It can help secure games, not win games, secure. There's a very big difference. Being able to, banish a Sinister Serpent from the graveyard or an Air Knight because someone made a bad play is extremely strong. It punishes poor, graceful charity choices. So, for that reason alone, I think Kycoo is already above, if we're ranking this on a 1 to 10. I think he already goes above a 5, which, is pretty good. I think Kycoo can be main decked if you know how to play him the right way. Personally, I side deck him. Because on paper, Kycoo doesn't give you anything on normal summon. Yes, he prevents your opponent from banishing cards from their graveyard, but compare that to something like Magical Merchant or Magician of Faith. Those give you something when they're flip summoned. Air Knight Parshath, yes, he doesn't give you something on summon. What you're sacrificing that for is piercing, which Kycoo doesn't have, and the ability to draw a resource, right? That's extremely important. You can look at that at a lot of things. Like, what does it immediately give you? Kycoo's a long-term investment, I would say. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I sure did enjoy making it. Hopefully I make more GOAT format videos in the future. But, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. All right, bye.